Hey guys, as a criminal defense lawyer, I see a lot of gruesome cases. But sometimes a case comes along that shakes you to your core. And this is one of those cases. Today I'm going to tell you about a double murder and an attempted murder of literally an entire innocent family. Welcome back to the G Spot, where we talk about true crime, actual criminal cases, straight out of my own case files. My name is Dmitry Gorovich, Mr. G, and this is my spot. I've been a criminal defense lawyer for almost 30 years, and I got stories. So sit back, relax, and welcome to my world. Imagine that you've been dating a girl for a little over a year and you really like her. She's beautiful, smart. You potentially see a future with her. But one day, she ends the relationship. She rejects you. What would you do? What would most of us do? Most of us would probably try to understand why she ended the relationship and try to resurrect it. Some of us would move on. But the guy that I'm about to tell you about had completely different ideas. Let me introduce you to Hassan. This guy is in his early 20s. He's tall, athletic, thinks of himself as a playboy. But one day, he met a girl that he kind of fell for. He was born in the US, family is Indian. He himself is Muslim, and I'll tell you in a second why that's important. He started dating Geeta, also Indian, also born in the US. But Geeta is Hindu. Hassan fell for Geeta. In fact, he fell for her pretty hard. He envisioned a future together with her. They dated for a little over a year. Everything was great until one day Geeta's parents found out about the relationship. And when they did, they told Geeta to end it immediately. Why? Because Hassan is Muslim and Geeta is Hindu. Now, the interesting thing about this whole situation is that neither Hassan nor Geeta practice their religion. Yes, Hassan is Muslim, he comes from a Muslim family, and Geeta comes from a Hindu family. But they don't practice their religion, they're not religious whatsoever. And yet, she decided to go along with her family and end the relationship. And when she did, all hell broke loose. Enter Ivan, my client. Now, Ivan is from Russia. He and Hassan went to high school together here in the US, and they were best buddies. In fact, they were so close that while they were in high school, they were doing some crazy stuff. I actually represented Ivan in one of his cases. You see, he and Hassan, they decided to steal some computers from the computer lab in their school. They took the computers apart and sold parts on eBay. They were both caught, prosecuted, but as juveniles, this wasn't a very serious case. But this solidified their relationship, and they stayed best friends all the way through college. And so when Hassan told Ivan that Geeta ended their relationship, Ivan tried to make his friend feel better. He told him, look, you just gotta move on. There are other girls there. Yes, she's beautiful. Yes, she's got a future. She comes from a great family. But there are a lot of girls like that. Just move on. It is what it is. But Hassan could not take it. Hassan could not take the rejection. And so he came up with a plan, a pretty vicious plan, a brutal plan, something that you and I would never, ever think of, but he did. Hassan decided that if Geeta's family was not in the picture anymore, she would have to turn to him. She would have nobody else. And so Hassan decided to murder Geeta's family. And Ivan was going to help him plan the whole thing. How evil, how depraved do you have to be to even think of something like this? I mean, it just boggles the mind. A thought like that would never even cross my mind or yours, right? I mean, as a normal person, how do you even come up with something like this? Well, Hassan did. And what I'm going to tell you next kept me up at night for many, many weeks and months. This is a very chilling story. So if you're faint of heart, I would ask you to stop the video now and move on to something else. This is going to be very graphic. Hassan and Ivan spent a lot of time planning this. And when they were done, they put their plan, sadly, they put their plan into action. Hassan hired two guys, big, burly, violent, two African American guys. One night, Geeta's dad and her younger sister were at home. They were watching television, just talking. I heard a knock on the door. Geeta's dad came up to the door and opened it. The two guys that Hassan hired were standing there. He looked at them and said, "May I help you?" In response, they rushed him, pushed him into the house while stabbing him. One of the guys grabbed Geeta's sister and tied her up. They also tied up the dad, who was stabbed but not dead yet. They went back to the minivan that Hassan borrowed from his dad, and they brought back canisters of gasoline. They started pouring gasoline all over the house. And as they were doing that, Geeta's mom came home from grocery shopping. The door from the garage opened, and Geeta's mom walked in with grocery bags in her hands. As she did, one of the guys rushed her and started stabbing her. She dropped to the ground, and he continued. They left her for dead, took Geeta's dad and her sister and threw them into the minivan and set the house on fire. Once they lit the house on fire, they drove away. They drove to a nearby forest with Geeta's dad and her sister in the minivan, tied up and gagged. When they got to the forest, they pulled both of them out. These monsters propped up the dad against the tree. The last thing he saw before he left this world was one of these monsters, cutting his daughter's throat. Then they turned on him. When they were finally done, they laid both bodies down on the ground, poured gasoline on them, and lit the bodies on fire. They then drove away and met Hassan, who took the minivan from them. Now, while this was happening, the family's house was on fire, and the fire department was called. Once they arrived, they actually saw Geeta's mom on the street. Because of the heat, she somehow came to and was able to crawl out of the house onto the sidewalk. And then she passed out. She was in a coma for over a month, but when she came to, she was able to describe everything and everybody. Hassan took the minivan and washed out all the blood, everything he could find, tore out all the carpets, washed out all the blood, used chlorine, tried to completely disinfect, completely clean out the minivan of any DNA or blood or anything else. He then drove the minivan to Mexico, where he abandoned it and made his way back to the US. When the cops found Geeta's dad and her sister, they immediately opened up an investigation. The first person they spoke to was Hassan. Geeta just broke up with him. He was the prime suspect. But according to Hassan, he didn't do anything wrong. He had no idea what happened. He also told law enforcement that he had no plans to leave anywhere. But when they checked, Hassan already had a ticket to fly out of the country. He was headed to either India or Pakistan, I don't remember which one. So they got a search warrant. And when they went in to Hassan's home, they took his computer, his cell phone, everything, and they found text messages. Full-on conversation between him and Ivan, planning all of this. By that time, Geeta's mom came out of her coma and was able to give a description of the guys that murdered her husband and her daughter and stabbed her. The whole case blew up. It was all over the news. You know, it's been years since this case, but as I'm telling you this story, I still feel very angry, extremely upset. How can anybody do something like this? Something this barbaric, something this senseless. This case shook me to my core, and I think it still does. The brutality is just mind-boggling. Tune in for part 2, where I tell you guys about the actual criminal case and what happened there. My name is Dmitry Gorovich, Mr. G. This is my spot, and these are my stories.